Is this a crime to say as an NBA fan that March Madness might actually be better than the NBA playoffs? Because from what I saw and from what I heard about the 2021 March Madness versus the 2020 NBA playoffs, it really looks to be a legitimate question. As the people who've watched my previous videos know, the NBA Finals did horribly, to put it bluntly. The interest in it was cut in half from the previous season, and of course that came from multiple factors, from no crowds to the social justice movements to just an overall lack of interest in the NBA. Of course, this isn't the players' fault or anything. I mean, they put on an amazing show in the 2020 NBA playoffs. But as we went through March Madness, as I witnessed some of these games, I couldn't help but think to myself, man, this is more entertaining than the actual professional basketball. I don't know if I'm just speaking, but I don't think you can be wishy-washy on a topic like this, because it always feels that college basketball and NBA fans are so segregated, you know? I've never called myself a college basketball fan. I only am interested in college in previous years because of the NBA prospects that were, playing in the tournament or playing in games or whatnot. And similarly, a lot of people who I've talked to only care about college basketball and don't really know much about NBA. Which is why it's curious to me when I watch the Final Four and the championship game as a non-college fan and start thinking it's more entertaining than the NBA Finals. Because if you think about it, the NBA Finals wasn't really that interesting to non-fans. I mean, of course you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James in Lakers uniforms, but then you have the Miami Heat, who don't really have a story. They didn't have a superstar. They had two of their three best players injured for a large amount of time, and there was really no drama. Which is interesting to me because March Madness is always drama-filled, no matter what happens. It doesn't matter if you've been a fan for 15 years or that you've just started watching college or that it's the first time that you've ever turned on a basketball game in your life. March Madness has an appeal that the NBA simply can't provide in its postseason. I also made another video a while back, I guess it was a year ago now since it was March Madness, about the NBA taking elements from March Madness to implement in their own season, which came in the form of the play-in tournament later on. I'll put the video in the description or something. But to cut the long short, simply having a single elimination tournament already provides so much more intrigue in a postseason. While sure, the players might not be that established and the teams might not be that established as well, but the fact that you have 64 teams all competing for one chance, one shot, one shining moment, all chasing for the chance to become a champion. And in a situation like that, parity doesn't really matter. As we saw with Gonzaga and Jalen Suggs and Drew Timme, you can go undefeated in the regular season and postseason and still end up losing in the final game. A tournament like March Madness is the only possible place where something like that could happen. Like, could you imagine the Golden State Warriors, instead of going 73-9, they went 82-0. They won 12-0 in the playoffs and then lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's essentially the equivalent of what happened in the 2021 March Madness tournament, but the thing is, it was expected. Even though they had a literal 100% winning percentage, they were still the underdogs in that race. That's the type of drama that the NBA simply can't provide, even with all of its storylines and recognizable faces and superior play. See, the main difference between NBA and NCAA team affiliations is that the NCAA has way more teams. Like, for example, I live in Kansas City, right? There's no team around us in the span of 6 hours. So you really sort of got free reign of wherever you want to go. Some people be OKC fans because that's the closest. Some people are Memphis, some people are other. Scattered all over the place. And there really isn't too much commitment. But as for college, we got a plethora of teams to select from. We got K-State, KU, Mizzou, Wichita State, and probably some others that I'm even forgetting. It's like you're living in LA or California, but you're only in the coast. That's not a good example. But you know what I'm trying to say here. There's a lot of options. And because it's so easy for a non-watcher to get into it, there's a lot of people who don't even care about the NBA that are very much into college basketball. And it's very easy for NBA fans that aren't fans of college basketball to get into it. As for the NBA, to select a team comes with its own risks and rewards, but very likely you're not going to be as tightly knit as you are with your college franchise. And I didn't even mention there are tons of alumni from each of these schools, who then pass on that love to their children and their children's children, and so on and then forth. I mean, sure, you have Duke, you have UNC, Kentucky, teams like that people will like because they're good, but as you can see, that isn't always the most surest bet. And then even then, if you have absolutely no affiliation with basketball, anything whatsoever, you've got the brackets. So perhaps in its biggest crutch of all, the NCAA March Madness tournament has its bracket system, where for literally no effort at all, for like 2 minutes, you can fill in a bracket that could potentially win you fame or money or whatever, notoriety in some type of way, for the minimum amount of effort. Like, I remember there's a kid a while back that got a lot of them right, and he had nothing to do, he didn't know anything about basketball, but because because he almost got it right. He was on all sorts of national news and headlines and all of these things. And I'm pretty sure he won a sizable sum of money as well. So of course, if you fill in your bracket, you're going to at least keep some sort of tabs on how it's doing. And you never know, that might be checking the headline, that might be asking your friend about a score, that might even be checking into a game once in a while, and before you know it, you're caught in the drama of March Madness. The NBA doesn't have something like that. The NBA doesn't have a way to consistently every tournament to bring in new fans that otherwise would be previously completely uninterested. And the only reason that's able to work, and the reason that the March Madness is so successful, the main reason, is because of unpredictability. You didn't expect me to do that right there. Why did I just smack myself? But it made this video a little bit more interesting, did it? No, it didn't. Of course it didn't. What am I even saying? For the NBA playoffs, there's always some degree of predictability. The number 1 seed is probably gonna win. The number 2 seed is gonna probably come close. The number 3 seed, You know what I'm saying. You're not surprised when the Lakers win the NBA championship. You might be surprised when the Denver Nuggets beat the Los Angeles Clippers. But you're absolutely shocked when UCLA, the number 11 seed, makes it all the way to the Final Four and is one buzzer beater bank 3 away from the national championship. That's completely unexpected. You don't expect the number 15 seed to win 2 to 3 games in the tournaments. You don't expect the undefeated team to lose in their last game. There are all these factors in March Madness that are only possible because of the situation they're in. When you got a bunch of young, excitable players all competing for the ultimate glory, honestly, you can't come up with a better script than that. It doesn't matter if the quality of the product is better per se. It doesn't even matter if the brand is more established. Well, in this case, of course, it's not even. The ultimate goal of sport is drama. While sure, it's great to watch amazing basketball, while sure, it's great to see the formations of different teams, and while sure, it's an object of interest for many other reasons, the prevailing reason why people watch sports is for the drama of it. Call it whatever you want, whether it's escapism or entertainment or anything else. That is what it is at the end of the day. And March Madness is able to provide that a lot better than the NBA playoffs for last year was. That might be another issue that the NBA has to worry about yet again. Strictly from the standpoint, the ideal finals is the Nets versus the Lakers. Which then begs the point, what happens when LeBron James retires? And sure, there's the preparation of Zion Williamson, LaMelo Ball to take over. We don't know what's going to happen to the league. It's something the NBA is going to have to think about sooner rather than later. That shouldn't have sounded that ominous. The NBA, of course, is in great hands. But anyway, that's all I got for y'all. I just wanted to put out a quick little video. Those are just the thoughts that I was having all March, and it sort of solidified in those final 2 games. If you have something to say about it, make sure you leave it down in the comments below. I want to have a dialogue about this. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
The sky's falling, the wind is calling, stand for something or die in the morning. Section 80, high power.